What's better, the best hot hatch of 2026 or a 640 brake horsepower all-wheel drive Super Saloon? Keep watching to find out, because this one might be a bit closer than you would expect. This is the Volkswagen Golf GTI Edition 50, and it's got that name to celebrate half a century of the famous hot hatchback. That means 50 years of front-wheel drive thrills combined with genuine, everyday usability and affordability. Honestly, the Golf GTI has got to be one of the most important performance cars of all time. To celebrate this milestone, VW has made the Edition 50 the most powerful production GTI ever by using the EA 888 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine from the Golf R. It produces 321 brake horsepower, just 7 bhp shy of the GTI's all-wheel drive bigger brother. And if you're wondering how could it put all of that power down through the front wheels, then consider this, because the GTI Edition 50 has just set the Nürburgring lap record for front-wheel drive production cars with a 7-minute 44.5. That's almost 3 seconds quicker than the stripped-out track-focused Golf GTI Club Sport S managed on its second record attempt in 2016. To help it do that, the Edition 50 gets VW's dynamic chassis control as standard, as well as a special Nürburgring drive mode, but it's the optional performance pack where the biggest gains are made. This sheds 25 kilograms via lighter forged alloy wheels, adds an Akrapovic exhaust system, lowers the ride height by another 5mm, making it 20mm lower than a regular Golf GTI, and, crucially, gives you a set of Bridgestone Potenza race semi-slick tyres. Being honest, I'm not totally sure how I feel about semi-slicks on a hot hatch, because the whole point of cars like this is that they're all-weather performance cars, and if you put semi-slicks on, then you're kind of impacting the whole all-weather bit. But I've got to say that today, with this kind of weather, on this smooth road, they are working very well indeed. And that's not all. The performance pack also brings stiffer bushings in the front control arms, stronger dual-arm rear wheel carriers, firmer damper mounts, and revised settings for the stability control system, electronic diff, and steering. What's more, the front camber is ramped up to -2 degrees, the same as the Club Sport S. Full disclosure, with the performance pack, this car costs £52,000, which, yeah, it is punchy, but so's the way it drives. The immediacy of the steering and the responses from the front end are a cut above any Golf currently on sale. Only small inputs are required to point the nose into apexes, and once you do, the outside wheels bite down hard and doggedly hold the desired line. The rear end, and actually the whole car, is clearly stiffer than a regular Golf GTI, and as such, it just loves to rotate. But on this road, it doesn't feel too much, it doesn't feel skittish, it just feels really nicely balanced. The speed that you can carry into corners in this car is just breathtaking. And it's never scary either, it's really intuitive. The way that you can feel what is just about too much and where you're really on the limit. I mean, that's the limit there, I can balance it on. If you get on the power a little bit too early, you just back off and it rotates round. It's such a nice thing to drive. Brake feel is great, the steering is excellent. It weights up without feeling artificial. It actually gives you communication and feedback, which is not a given these days. And also, I really like the Nürburgring track mode, although they can't call it that. It's the special mode in the infotainment system, probably for boring licensing reasons, but it's everything on maximum attack apart from the suspension, which is just softened off a little bit. And it's a great combination, even on a smooth road like this, just having that little bit of play, I think, on road is the sweet spot. Just take it into this right-hander, chuck it in, rotates round, you just end up going faster and faster and faster, but you never worry that you've taken too much. It's just there, it's on your side, it's just so much fun. It's a proper hot hatch. And despite all of this, the Edition 50 is still a true Golf GTI in that it is comfortable, refined, and totally usable. Aside from a slightly firmer ride, there's little compromise versus a regular Golf GTI. And given its outright ability and what it can do on road and on the Nürburgring, that is a seriously impressive achievement. The engine is a good complement to the chassis. It's got plenty of punch, but also the way that it sounds purposeful, and it just works with the whole car. The one thing that I wish was a bit different is the gearbox, because it's obviously a dual clutch DSG. It's super smooth, like unbelievably smooth. When you change gear, there's no jolt or anything. I mean, it's responsive, really good. However, given how involving the rest of the car is, the gearbox just feels a bit too cold and clinical. Too easy almost. I find myself hankering for the manual box in a Civic Type R and the thrill of nailing a change. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a small negative in what is otherwise a near perfect hot hatch. So, the Edition 50 is the very best example of old school hot hatchery in 2026. It's a worthy tribute to the name, and despite the price tag, it should still prove popular. However, what if I told you that if you spent just a few £1,000s more, you could get your hands on one of the very best electric performance cars on sale today, full stop? This thing is the Hyundai Ioniq 6N. Underneath, this is a Hyundai Ioniq 5N, but with a few crucial differences. It still uses an all-electric powertrain to spread 641 brake horsepower and 546 pounds-foot of torque across all four wheels, plus 800-volt architecture means charging to almost full takes under 20 minutes. Good, but not as quick as the 0 to 62 mph time, which is even faster than the 5N at a mere 3.2 seconds. That's quick. Wow. That's a lot faster than the Golf, that's for sure. It's not lacking in straight line speed. Woo. Okay, so 641 brake horsepower EV is fast in a straight line. Great. But here's where it gets interesting, because the 6N's differences over the 5N aren't just down to its slicker, smoother fastback form. Look closer and you'll spot a swan neck style rear spoiler contributing 96 kilograms of downforce and fatter wheel arches pointing towards a 60mm wider track over the standard 6. There's also a lower roll centre compared with the 5N, revised geometry, stiffer spring rates and better battery cooling. Hyundai has also introduced its own version of stroke sensing dampers that can measure suspension travel in real time and therefore make changes on the fly. For a car that has the same £65,000 price tag as the 5N, the changes to the looks and what's underneath are fairly significant. And just like the Golf, it plays the everyday card well. In fact, it rides better than both the 5N and the Golf, and it feels like a sophisticated, mature cruiser. However, all you need to do is flick a switch into one of the sportier drive modes and... Well, when I say flick a switch, what I actually mean is you can flick a switch on the N shortcut buttons down here, there's two of them, but only if you've set it up in advance, which I haven't had time to do, and if I try and do it when I'm driving, I'm just going to crash because it'll be dangerous. And there's a lot of settings to go through. Let me show you. So you go onto the central touchscreen, you press N mode, and then you can customize your various N presets. It's like BMW's M modes, but for Hyundai. So I can change the aggression and the performance of the motors. I can change the ESC settings, the steering settings. We can also modify those, 3 different ones. The HUD, that can be adjusted, 2 different settings. The suspension, the electronic limited slip differential, all of that can be customized, and I can change it from one to the other. However, that's not it. There's also another page where I can change options like the N torque distribution, so I can make the car way more rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Do I want a sports car or do I want a hot hatch? Then there's the N pedal, which is basically driving down the road not using the brake pedal, just using the accelerator pedal, because you can press it and when you come off it, the car automatically brakes using the regeneration. That's quite good fun. And then the N drift optimizer, we've seen that in the Ioniq 5N, but this has got an even more detailed and customizable settings options. So we've got initiation, which is how you're going into the corner. You can change the amount of angle that you're aiming to get through the corner, and then the wheel spin that you're getting mid-corner coming out of the corner. So there's a few different things to bear in mind there. I've got a few presets that I think I'm happy with. It's only taken me about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. So I think I'm ready to go.
Anyway, once you do get it dialed into the correct mode, the Ioniq 6N is actually very well sorted.
Unsurprisingly, this feels very different to the Golf. You're not getting the same level of feedback or outright chuckability. It feels much heavier, as you'd expect. It feels like it has a higher center of gravity. But I reckon this is actually a bit less one-dimensional. The Golf does what it does very, very well indeed. There's no denying that. But with this, you've got so many different ways to tackle a road. At the moment, I'm doing it like a traditional EV. There's one speed, I've got really good responses from the accelerator pedal, and it's very quick. But I can just change the drive mode and activate Hyundai's N eShift. And yeah, it's fake. And the noise, I'm not entirely convinced by it, but the experience, the way that it measures the torque out and it starts to fade as you hit high revs, it's actually really clever. And you start to forget that it's not real. There's even an interruption when you switch ratios. And actually, because the Golf's DSG is just so smooth and linear, this, in some weird ways, doesn't feel that much different as an experience. In fact, there's more of a jolt in this gear change than there is in the Golf GTI, which doesn't make any sense. Not going to try and explain it really, but yeah, that's what we've got.
The way that Hyundai has judged when to try and mimic a petrol car and when to do it differently is perhaps one of the Ioniq 6N's biggest strengths. The eShift works really well, but equally you could use the N pedal function, which by using extreme regen allows you to tackle a road like this without ever reaching for the brake pedal. Personally, I prefer using the Fate gears, but the 6N is clever in that it gives you that choice.
Coming through this faster section of bends, you are definitely aware of the extra mass, but let's see what it's like coming into this hairpin bend. The advantage here is that we can send some of the power to the rear wheels, and it does help shove us around. Under braking, it doesn't feel quite as controlled. It's a little bit more prone to understeer, and obviously the feedback isn't as good either, but you do have a good idea of what's going on underneath. You just need to be a bit more patient really. It's a more of a case of managing it through the corners. But saying that, I can activate N torque distribution, move the power around to the front, or in this case the rear, and take this corner different to how I did the last one. It's artificial, yeah, but yeah, it's good fun, and the performance, well, there's no doubting that at all.
However, I'm still not totally convinced by any of the sound profiles. The one you hear in the video is the best, but it's still not great. Plus, the new N drift optimizer now offers individual control over rear-wheel braking, slip angle, and wheel spin. For me, it worked fine as it was in the 5N, and this is overly fussy. But again, the choice is there if you want it.
I think versus the 5N, there is a little bit less of an edge. It feels a bit more refined, composed, but I don't actually feel like I'm sitting much lower, and the car doesn't feel any more hunkered down to the ground, which, looking at the two cars, I'm a bit disappointed about. I hope that this would feel less like an SUV, but actually sitting here now, driving it, it's very, very similar to the 5 from that point of view, and I did want there to be a bit more differentiation.
Indeed, both the 6N and the GTI Edition 50 both have the difficult task of building on a base or a sister model that has rightfully garnered huge praise. The VW does that by turning things up a notch, whereas the Hyundai arguably goes the other way.
I do think, however, that regardless to the differences, or maybe not differences, to a 5N, there's no doubt that this covers ground at an astonishing rate. That instant torque, combined with being able to tailor the all-wheel drive how you want it, does give you a lot of confidence for such a big car. You can really press on and still have fun. I mean, it is fun. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying myself here. But am I enjoying myself as much as I was in the Golf?
Now, clearly there's a lifestyle choice to be made here too. For some, the all-electric powertrain of the 6N will be an irresistible selling point, yet for others, a real-world range of around 200 miles will be a deal breaker. So, for the purpose of this verdict, I'm going to pick the car that, on the serpentine roads of southern France, is simply the most fun. And for me, that's got to be the Golf GTI Edition 50. Its skill set isn't as broad as the Ioniq 6N's, yet it delivers the front-wheel drive hot hatch brief brilliantly. With almost Golf R levels of power, it's faster than ever, while changes to the geometry, suspension and steering mean that despite its growing size and weight, the GTI Edition 50 harks back to the golden era of the hot hatch. It's undoubtedly quick, but more importantly, it absolutely fills you with confidence and allows you to wring every last inch out of it. Which, let's be honest, is the point. The GTI Edition 50 is the best hot hatch on sale today, and it's also the winner of this test.